It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Warsaw State's head women's ice hockey coach, Coach Eliza Kelley. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college women's ice hockey?
Yeah, so it's funny. I actually had no idea. I played hockey my whole life. I come from a hockey family, even though they don't identify themselves that way. They identify themselves as a skiing family. But my mom played in college at the University of Vermont. My grandfather played at Princeton. So certainly a hockey family, but just played my whole life. Kind of the opportunity came up almost by accident. I had an opportunity to start coaching in my senior year of college with some injuries and stuff like that. And so I just started and I kind of fell in love with it and just kept going. But it wasn't my intention from the get-go.
Well, what was that experience like going to Utica and getting to play collegiate ice hockey there?
It was awesome. It's a great place to play. The town loves hockey. The city loves hockey. And there's so much hockey tradition in that area. They recognize, when you walk down the street, they get excited to see, you wearing a sweatshirt of hockey. They always have some sort of connection with you and with the program. So that was really cool just to be a part of that community. Great rink, great staff, great facility, like just awesome.
As a player, what was it like getting to represent Utica and putting on that ice hockey sweater jersey?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to just that community environment that they have and how excited everybody gets. So you get a sense that it's a little bit bigger than you right from the get-go, and you learn kind of quickly that tradition's important, legacy is important, and then hockey is important to the people around you, not just at the university, but at the rink around town. Everywhere you go, people are always making comments about it. So that there's a lot of pride that just goes into the program. So I think when you put on that Moose jersey, you just feel special from the get-go, and you feel like you're there to do something that's pretty important to a lot of people.
During your collegiate time, what were some of your biggest hockey accomplishments?
So I would like to think of myself just as a great teammate. I think I make environments better, and so making sure my teammates are doing well and able to play at their best. So it's less so about personal accomplishments and more just kind of what I hope and what I think I left behind, in terms of relationships and friendships, and just kind of leaving the legacy of what we're doing is important for that next group. I was fortunate to kind of see that program from all roles, and I was there for a long time. So 7 years, so in different roles. So I think I was able to do that, or had the opportunity to do that. Certainly, like, just bigger hockey memories. My freshman year, we were 7th in the country at one point. That was a pretty cool thing to see. We had a really competitive conference with the ECAC West. So you had Plattsburgh and Elmira that were 1 and 2, and early on we had RIT in that conference as well. So 1, 2, and 3 in the country often were in our league, and so winning some playoff games here and there and having some upsets were just big memories in terms of hockey. But I think overall it was more just the relationships I was able to build, and hopefully the impact I was able to make in our locker room and with my group of people.
After your collegiate time, what was that transition like for you coaching at your alma mater as a grad assistant?
Fast. I think for me, like I said, I just kind of fell into it, and then the opportunity came up to kind of come back again and fill a coaching role, and it was a little bit different because you'd played with a chunk of people on that team, and all the credit in the world to them, just because they were able to recognize a switch of hats and had kind of respect for what I was doing, and I was also able to approach it from more of a player's mindset early on, and so probably able to coach a little bit differently and learn a little bit of a different style early on. It was awesome though, like seeing things from the other perspective and getting to kind of continue that impact. I'm super grateful for that opportunity.
How was that experience like for you getting to coach as an assistant coach at your alma mater?
Yeah, so that, I mean, it was pretty similar to what I'd been doing. They just switched the roles a little bit in terms of what we were allowed to do, and um, again, like every opportunity I've gotten, I'm grateful for, and to be an impact on that program for so long was a great learning experience, because we were able to kind of go back and talk about things that happened, or things that we tried on the ice in different eras almost of people. So I think that I was able to kind of break down my playing experience throughout the years with a coach's lens, and I'm not sure that everybody gets that opportunity to do that. So just being there within that 7-year stretch or so, I felt like I was able to learn things from a player perspective, from a coach perspective, and then revisit everything with each lens. And I think that was really important in my development process as a coach.
What were some of the things that you learned during your time as assistant coach to then help you to come to Baker's College, becoming a head coach for the first time?
Yeah, it's funny. So when I went to Becker, the first thing that I got was a note in the mail from another coach that said you're just nobody's ready to be head coach until you are. And I think that's a great little tidbit of advice for any new coach. So while I felt like I was prepared in all sorts of ways, I'd done administrative stuff at Utica, I'd done coaching, I'd done the recruiting. You don't really know what it's like until it kind of all falls on your shoulders. So I felt like my learning experience had been vast, but you step into that role and all of a sudden you're like, it's time to think about things a little bit differently. But that piece of advice kind of calmed me down a little bit, and everybody, it's kind of like, you got this, just put one foot in front of the other and go. And so I think that there was a little bit of that mindset, but also with the way the program was run that I had been a part of, it gave me a really good framework for kind of setting up a new program. So when I got to Becker, there was no program. I was starting it from scratch, and so you had a year of recruiting, and when you have nothing that you're recruiting to, meaning recruits aren't coming to meet players and recruits aren't coming in to see what you already have established, you're really selling a vision. So I was able to kind of set up a clear framework for that first group, so they had an idea of what to expect, even though it wasn't built yet. And I think that was really important, making that switch.
Being a first-time head coach, what was that experience like building a program from scratch, as you said, going to Becker?
Yeah. So it's funny. People ask, what was the most memorable day or time with that first team, and for me, it was actually our first day of practice. So it'd been a year. I'd been about a year on campus without players and without being on the ice, and you kind of people always think it's gonna be the first game or the first win or the first goal, but it was really that first practice day where you just a big kind of wow moment of everything that you're able to put together. So again, like it goes right back to a lot of pride and probably a little bit of a sense of relief in that moment, but pride, excitement. It's a big process to build a team, and kind of just getting to that point is an early step in terms of how you're going to develop everything. But yeah, a lot of pride.
What were some of the things that you were able to accomplish at Becker as a first-time head coach and a first-time program?
Yeah. So we were able to kind of build and establish a team and a team environment culture without upperclassmen. I think that's a really difficult thing to do. I think you don't really realize how much that experience of veteran players help you until you don't have them. And so that first class was so invested in our group. That first year we were able to um, upset in our first round playoff game, headed up to our league final four at the time. We had a lead until about 5 minutes ago, and we lost to the eventual champions of the league. So that was a really cool moment, I think, in terms of accomplishment. Letting everybody kind of reap some reward for all the things that they'd done, and we were able to follow that up with rookie of the year type of things down the line. We were able to follow that up with playoff bursts every year, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's just credit to that first group and all that we did to build it.
For you, what was that transition like coming from a program that you built from scratch and coming to Worcester and starting that program?
Yeah, so that's a really funny story. When I was at Becker in 2020 when COVID rained down on everybody, and it rained down on Becker and its admissions process, and so the school ended up closing. So it was a whole group of people that were now looking for a new place to play, or kind of wanting to continue what we'd been doing. And Worcester presented itself as an opportunity to jump over there and start a program really fast. So I ended up kind of by happenstance starting Worcester in about a 4 month time span with a lot of the Becker players. So totally different from buildings from scratch before, because this time you had a lot of veteran players. Just had to establish yourself as a team and a program at a new school. So it was almost more of a rebranding than building from scratch. And a lot easier in a lot of ways the second time around, but really cool to see that group of people that had been through a lot of adversity with the shutdown, the closure, able to kind of continue. And certainly things were different and not all the same, but get them to kind of continue their path and build again.
What was that like for you bringing over players once you transition over and bringing over players to help you with this team?
Yeah. It was like the school made it pretty smooth in terms of transitioning players in. But it was kind of, you had to figure out what the school was all about and see how our value systems and style worked, at a new spot. But I don't want to say it was easy. Nothing was easy, but it was probably as smooth as it could have been given the circumstance. We had like 17, 18 wins the first 2 years, win seasons the first 2 years. We had conference championships. So it was really cool to see them kind of hit a peak and hit kind of immediate success too.
For you, what was that feeling like being named as the new women's ice hockey head coach? And what was that feeling like stepping onto that ice for the first time?
Yeah, again, like you just feel pride in this job. I think that you're picked or selected to run something that's going to represent a large population of a university or represent a city and a hockey community. And so I think that you just want to make sure you're carrying yourself the right way and be excited for what's to come. I think coaches get the lucky blessing of getting to just be a part of something that's really big and in terms of building and helping players grow and then kind of being the face of universities, and being a sense of excitement for universities. So you just feel a lot of pride about it.
What was that feeling like when you got your first win as a head coach?
So that was early on in 2015 against Johnson and Wales, and with Becker, it was my first win as a head coach. It was cool. It felt like it was November, so it had been about a month since we were up and running with that brand new program. So it was cool to see kind of everything come to fruition. I still have that game puck in my office. The players from that group had kind of put it in a stand and framed it a little bit for me. So I look at that all the time, and I think, wins are exciting. Obviously that's the goal, but I think that puck kind of for me represents just that whole building process and all that it takes to win. I think we forget sometimes that winning has a lot of steps and stages behind it. So that's kind of my reminder for when things get rocky to kind of go back to the beginning and see what you can rebuild.
What was that feeling like getting that first win at Worcester as a
At
head
Worcester,
coach?
yeah, same thing. I think winning came a little bit easier to us at that point in time. It wasn't a traditional startup group like the previous one had been. So it's still feeling of pride and excitement, but it was more of like, let's see what we can do here, and let's see how big we can go here, and jump out as one of the most successful brand new teams to play hockey. So I think that it was a little, certainly the background emotions are there, but more of like, let's go, let's see how far we can take this thing.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped to build and started to build for the women's ice hockey program?
Yeah, I think for us, we talk a lot as a team about a value system of being tough, being reliable, and staying together, and that's kind of what we would consider our core values as a group. So really, everything that we lay the foundation for and talk about style of play, team standards, all that stuff fits around those types of things, and getting players to live that more than just talk about it is always the goal for us. And I think like right now we have a group that's really, really invested, and it's been kind of cool to see that come along over the past couple of years of getting people that want to uphold standards and want to reinforce those values.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
Yeah, so we'll play this year in the MASCAC. So we will play against Plymouth State, Anna Maria, MCLA, Framingham. I'm forgetting a few here off the top of my head, but we'll jump into the MASCAC this year.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Southern Maine come to home to play versus going to UMass Boston to play?
Yeah, so we're in this cool spot of central Massachusetts where everything is so compact, I'll say, where people are able to get to a lot of things. We have players from everywhere, but we get a decent amount of New England kids, of Massachusetts players. So their families are able to come, which I think is really cool to have so many sets of families in the stands. And that's not always the case with college athletics, because a lot of teams are in these areas where they're driving 6, 7, 8 hours to games and seeing families once or twice a year. And we certainly have that with our people from distances, but we have a lot of Massachusetts families, local families that kind of adopt our players. So that's cool. I think for our bigger games, so we do it's called a Lancer game, where pretty much the whole athletic department will come out. Playoff games, obviously championship games, those environments, the barn gets a little bit rocking. It's just awesome when everybody can come out and support our group.
As a coach, what is it like going back to your alma mater of Utica and getting to face Utica?
I haven't beat them yet, so that's bothersome. The closest we've come is in overtime. But yeah, no, it's great. Again, that community is welcoming. That's a game that our players certainly circle on the calendar. They get excited to play that because I think they know there's just a little bit more to it for me, and they embrace that. Hockey community is so small that people have friends everywhere they go, and for whatever reason, they seem to always have a few friends on that team, so that's fun for them. They invited us to their gold ribbon game last year, which is a charity game kind of in honor of one of my teammates, which was cool to play in and cool to see that from the other bench, although would have liked to come away with a win on that one.
What is that atmosphere like in the barn, getting to play in your home stadium?
Yeah, our rink is a pretty cool place. We've got between men's and women's teams, we actually have four college teams that play out of here. It's kind of a hockey hub. There's a lot of community action here as well. There's some restaurants and a brewery attached to the rink, so people like to come down and kind of make an evening out of it, which it's just a good environment. It's a good place to walk into every day.
What is that like getting to play in an arena where you said 4 to 5 games are happening within the weekend?
Yeah, busy. But it's cool for me. I think one of the coolest things for me is how many practices I get to see throughout the week. I know it's crazy because everybody wants games, but from a coach's perspective, just seeing how different coaches run their practices and what drills they use. So throughout the week, I get to see a lot of different stuff, a lot of different coaching styles, and you can kind of borrow and ask questions and talk about stuff with other coaches at different places. And I don't think that's always common. In terms of games, like makes it easy. Our men usually play Thursday nights, so we get off practice around 4 or 5 o'clock. We can just grab some food and walk over there. They usually play on the opposite side of it's a 2-sheet facility, so we can walk over there to their side and see a lot of their games. But as well, you get to create a lot of relationships with different coaches throughout the community.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective women ice hockey players out there looking to play on the collegiate level?
Yeah, we do a lot of recruiting through the camps and showcases that I do over the summer. So whether I'm volunteering, working, watching different stuff, I'm able to kind of get out and about. We're lucky. Massachusetts seems like everybody comes in and plays here at some point. We have players or we've had players as far as California, Alaska, North Carolina, kind of all over the map. And for the most part, I got to see them here. So I didn't have to go too far. It was certainly a lot more travel when I was living in New York. But watching players play, we have an assistant that does a ton of scouting for us. He's been great. Watching players play, get an evaluation on them, invite them to campus and kind of go through the process of meeting, getting to know everybody, families, players, all of that, and seeing how it would fit both ways for our program, for them to kind of become a part of our culture and our group.
As a head coach, what are some of the things that you look at in those players when out on the road recruiting?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, speed, ability to play, those types of things. For me, body language. So, like, how are we responding to things that our teammates did well? How are we responding to things that maybe didn't go so well for us? Our season's long. We call it a roller coaster. So there's a lot of emotions that have to get managed throughout. So do we have that ability, or at least do we understand we need to learn that ability to kind of control our body language and make sure that it's not detracting from the group? That's a big one for me that I watch a lot in players. And then how do they interact with their teammates? How do they interact with their coaches? Right? Like, again, it's for us, this is one of the best jobs in the world, I think. But it's even better when you have great people around you. So that's what we're looking for.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those players fall in love with the campus and, most importantly, the ice rink?
A sigh of relief. No, we have a beautiful campus. And so in a way, the last couple of years at Worcester has been easier than some other places. Like, I think people for whatever reason are surprised by how nice it is. And so that tends to be a great sell for us. A lot of people have either played at our rink for a bigger tournament, and usually it gives off a pretty good environment. So oh yeah, I know it. But then they get to see the locker room, kind of all the additional stuff that they wouldn't have seen when they came to just play here for something else. But yeah, like you spend a long time watching players play and talking with them and visiting with them, and so when they decide that they want to become part of the program, like while it is just the beginning, it is certainly like exciting and rewarding to have them sign on. And then you're like, okay, well now we gotta get to work and get you ready to do this.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing them put on that Worcester jersey for the first time?
Yeah, so last year we just started doing this little bit of a tradition where upperclassmen give them that jersey, just kind of tell them a little bit of something inspirational, hand it out before we have our first time they get to put it on is media day. So just kind of letting them pass on what it means to them. I think that's a cool little touch. But yeah, you only get one first college hockey game, so you just tell them to relax and have fun, and nothing's the end of the world. And this is a game they've played 100 times, but it's kind of not that you want people to be nervous, but it's kind of special to see people with butterflies about a game they've played for so long, right? Because they played their whole lives and probably haven't been that nervous or excited to play a game in a while.
What is it like seeing those freshmen achieve those first big milestones in their career?
Cool. I think for us though, I try not to separate the classes too much, but one, of course, anybody's big milestone or big first something we're going to celebrate. But I think it's more fun really watching how the team responds to it. So, it might be a defenseman who's a sophomore and hasn't scored a goal yet, and they put one in, and like everybody is just bouncing up and down and flying around excited. And so I think it's exciting. Like the rewarding or fun part for me is seeing like how excited the group gets for someone else's milestone. And that's kind of one where you're like, okay, we're doing well. We're really excited because someone else is achieving, and we understand that that's a big moment for them.
What is it like for you getting to see them put on that jersey for the last time representing Worcester?
So we've been kind of lucky in the first 3 seasons that I've been here. We've ended on a win, with getting to hold a trophy at the end. And that doesn't happen often, and I certainly don't want to take that for granted, but it's a little bit different when you're going out on a celebration versus going out on a loss. So I think the cool part for me with kind of the end of the journey is like when they're getting their first big jobs, and when they're getting their you get the wedding invitation and things like that. Like that's the cool part, that the relationship doesn't really end. But yeah, as far as the hockey piece, we've just been kind of spoiled to end with a celebration, and you just feel happy for them. That life's going to change a little bit for them, and hopefully they're ready to do that.
For you as a head coach, what is it like seeing them go on and playing professional ice hockey after their collegiate time?
Yeah, we've had a few that have gone on to play. We talk about that obviously as a personal success, but a huge program success, good for everybody. We had some that were skating over winter break, with some of our current players, and I think that was a cool thing to kind of bring it back full circle. But yeah, you get excited for them to be able to accomplish things that maybe they never thought they could do, and see how far they could go with this game.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Yeah, so this year we jump into the MASCAC with new league in it, same goal. We'd like to end on another win. I think for us, we will have to recognize at some point that winning isn't as easy as it's been, and hopefully that doesn't come this year or ever. But I think it will be at some point, just kind of having to lock back in and reset some things. But yeah, so in terms of this year, MassCAC, we want to be the MassCAC champions. Getting an NCAA tournament bid is certainly a goal of mine. A 20-win season is a goal that I've had forever, and we've come 2 games shy. But those are some kind of the benchmark goals. And then kind of my non-tangible goal is that people still enjoy the game and want to be a part of the game in some way when they leave the program. So just kind of continuing to build and foster that.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college women's ice hockey?
Learn. Understand you're there to learn. I think that the freshmen that come in with the mindset of, like, I'm just here to kind of soak in everything and adapt and receive advice from coaches, teammates, they tend to do really well. So just understand that your job is to learn, like, whether you're the best player on the team or not, you're still learning in that year, and there's a lot that you're going to have to kind of take in. So be open to that, and not let yourself get too down on anything. The game changes a little bit. It's a little more physical, a little bit faster. So you have to make some changes and kind of be patient with yourself as you're figuring that out. So yeah, be open to learn.
What advice would you give those college juniors out there transitioning into being seniors and leading?
Yeah. I think, to me, the biggest piece of advice I would say is that live your culture, live your standards. I think everybody looks to seniors for whether it's support or guidance or their experience. And so if they're doing the right things and they really know them at that point, if they're doing the right things and kind of living the expectations, everybody else is going to follow suit. And then the other piece would be, think about what legacy you want to leave behind. So whether that's a wins-loss goal or whether that's a teammate type of goal, I think, I said it in the very first question or early on in this like, something I'm proud of is the relationships that I was able to make. And I think that those are important things for seniors to understand, that that's part of your legacy as well. So think about your legacy and live your value, live your culture.
What advice do you have those college seniors out there that have aspirations of playing professional ice hockey, whether it's in the PHL or playing overseas internationally?
Yeah, try it. I think if you get an opportunity for a camp or you get an opportunity for an invite, take it, see what it's all about. I think in terms of, if they know that's something they want to do, that's probably something they have to start thinking about early on. Rather than senior, it's probably somewhere around junior year in terms of how they're going to prepare and things like that. I think for advice for seniors in general, when they move on, like, they're going to have to find a way to fill that void of college hockey one way or another. So if that's playing professional hockey, great. But if it's not, kind of figure out what you loved about it so much and continue that. So if it's competing, find a way to compete. If it's being around a group of people, team, coach, things like that. So that's advice I tend to give pretty much every year to a group of seniors.
What advice do you have those players out there that have aspirations of getting into college coaching?
Yeah, so we've had a bunch that coach from my crew of people, and most of them have come in, which is awesome. Most of them have come in their freshman or sophomore years and kind of talked about that being something that they wanted to do. So we're able to kind of tailor their experience to that, meaning explain some things as we go along and how things work, so they're hopefully a little bit more prepared when the time comes. But I would say ask questions, be around. Like, I was late to this phone call because I'm doing laundry. Meaning coaches wear a lot of hats. We fill in a lot of roles. So if that's something you want to do, you can kind of start doing that stuff, and then people will help you along the way. So especially if you're putting in extra time, hanging around, offering help in other areas, people tend to want to help you back. So ask questions, be around, be engaged, try to figure out the why behind things, not to a point that it hurts your play, but those are the ways that kind of coaches think.
What advice would you give those future head coaches out there looking to build their own program and build their own legacy?
It's a good one, and I've done it twice, and people ask me this one a lot, and I don't necessarily know if there's any one piece of advice. But I would just say make sure you really love the game. Make sure you really love developing people and developing hockey players, because there are days that it's a big grind and it's a lot of work to kind of start from zero. So if this is something you're thinking about doing, I would just say make sure you really have a passion for teaching and passion for the game.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you out on social media along with the program?
Yeah, we're Worcester on Instagram, Worcester State WIH. I believe that's actually all of our accounts: Instagram, Twitter, etc. And then for myself, WSULancers.com. It's got our schedule, our team page, roster information, etc.
Thank you again, Coach Liz Kelley, for your interview. Best of luck in your future at Worcester State as the head women's ice hockey coach.
All right, thanks, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Liz Kelley, for your interview. Best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.